My friends, wisdom is not found only in books, but in how we treat one another. Every small act of kindness carries the light of the divine. Does Judaism have a creed? Many religions define themselves through clear articles of faith, formal statements that believers must accept. But Judaism developed differently. For centuries, Jewish life focused more on practice and law than on official doctrines. So an important question arises. Did Judaism ever develop articles of faith? And if so, who created them? Today we explore the fascinating story of belief, doctrine, and faith in Judaism. Welcome back to Jewish Wisdom Library, where we explore Jewish history, philosophy, and religious wisdom through classic historical books. In our previous episode, we examined how Judaism became a religion structured around law and daily practice. But religion is not only about practice, it also involves belief. So in this episode, we explore how Jewish thinkers understood faith and doctrine. A common claim about Judaism says this: Judaism allowed freedom of belief, but strictly controlled human behavior. However, this statement is only partly true. In reality, Jewish tradition balanced belief and conduct. For example, the ancient rabbinic text called the Mishnah declared that certain beliefs were essential. It stated that people who denied the resurrection of the dead or rejected the divine origin of the Torah would have no share in the world to come. So belief was not completely unrestricted, but conduct was not completely rigid either. Jewish law recognized actions called matters given to the heart. These were moral decisions that depended on a person's conscience and inner judgment. This meant that individuals were still responsible for applying the law thoughtfully. Jewish tradition placed great importance on human reasoning. One famous story illustrates this idea. A rabbi named Rabbi Joshua once refused to follow a supernatural voice that tried to settle a legal debate. He declared something remarkable: "The law is not in heaven." In other words, the responsibility for interpreting the law belongs to human beings on earth. According to the story, even God agreed with Rabbi Joshua's decision. This story reflects a powerful idea within Judaism. Divine law must be understood through human reasoning, discussion, and interpretation. Unlike Christianity or Islam, Judaism historically did not create official articles of faith. One reason was organizational. After the fall of the ancient Jewish leadership, known as the Sanhedrin, there was no single authority governing all Jews. Jewish communities became local and independent. Without a central authority, no one could impose a universal creed. Synagogues and rabbinic schools focused mainly on law, ethics, and community life, rather than defining precise doctrines. Even when Jewish synods met during the Middle Ages, they usually dealt with practical issues, not theological beliefs. Although Judaism did not create official creeds, it did emphasize certain fundamental beliefs. The most important declaration in Jewish worship is called the Shema. It comes from the book of Deuteronomy and begins with these words: "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." This short sentence expresses the central Jewish belief: there is only one God. The Shema also commands believers to love God with all their heart, soul, and strength. For centuries, this declaration became the most important statement of Jewish faith.
Jewish teachers often tried to summarize the complex teachings of the Torah into simple principles. One famous example comes from the great Rabbi Hillel the Elder. A man once asked Hillel to explain the entire Torah while standing on one foot. Hillel answered, "What you hate, do not do to your neighbor. That is the whole law. The rest is commentary." Later Jewish thinkers offered other summaries. The sage Rabbi Akiva taught that the commandment, "Love your neighbor as yourself," was the greatest principle of the law. Another rabbi explained the Torah using the words of the prophet Micah, "Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with God." These summaries showed that Jewish law ultimately aimed to build ethical and compassionate human beings. The first Jewish philosopher to formally describe the main teachings of Judaism was Philo of Alexandria. Living in the ancient Greek world, Philo attempted to explain Judaism using philosophical ideas. He summarized 5 central teachings. God exists. God is one. The universe was created by God. The world reflects divine unity, and God continuously cares for humanity. However, Philo's ideas did not become an official creed. For centuries, Judaism continued without a formal set of doctrines. The most famous attempt to define Jewish beliefs came in the Middle Ages from the philosopher Maimonides. Maimonides created a list called the 13 Principles of Faith. These included beliefs such as God exists, God is one, God is eternal and incorporeal, the Torah was revealed by God, God knows human actions, there will be reward and punishment, the Messiah will come, and the dead will one day be resurrected. These 13 principles became widely respected throughout Jewish communities, yet they were never officially enforced. No central authority ever required Jews to formally accept them. Later thinkers suggested simpler summaries of Jewish belief. The philosopher Joseph Albo proposed 3 basic principles: belief in God, belief in divine revelation, and belief in reward and punishment. Others emphasized the idea that Judaism is not defined by creed, but by life and practice. The Enlightenment thinker Moses Mendelssohn famously argued that Judaism is a way of life rather than a system of dogmas. So what do we learn from this exploration of the articles of faith in Judaism? Unlike religions that defined themselves through strict creeds, Judaism developed in a different way. While thinkers such as Maimonides tried to summarize Jewish belief in clear principles, these formulations were never imposed as official dogmas for all Jews. Instead, Jewish tradition allowed a diversity of thought while remaining rooted in the worship of one God and the teachings of the Torah. In many ways, Judaism has always been less about rigid declarations of belief and more about a living tradition, shaped by faith, ethics, and centuries of interpretation. But this raises another important question. If Judaism is not defined by a single creed, then what are the central ideas that give Judaism its unique character and identity? In the next episode, Part 4, we will explore some key concepts of Judaism, the fundamental ideas that shaped Jewish thought, tradition, and spiritual life throughout history. So what do we learn from this exploration of the articles of faith in Judaism? If you found this exploration helpful, subscribe to Jewish Wisdom Library and join us in the next video as we continue uncovering the depth and wisdom of Jewish tradition.